Welcome to Fantasy Legends, my name's Scott, and today we're going to go through Final Fantasy 7 remakes, Summon Materia, and ranking them from worst to best. Just a small spoiler warning for those that haven't played the game. Obviously we'll be naming all the summons in this video and where to get them. Please remember to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Each subscription really does help me out and it helps me make better content for you guys in the future. With that said, let's get on with the video. Now, at number 10, we have the Cactuar. Now, this familiar creature is in most of the games, if not summonable, is fightable in most of them. And you can get this in the Deluxe Edition, the First Class Edition of the game, and also in the new DLC pack that has come out for just PS5 exclusive. However, this summon is a bit underwhelming. I wouldn't say it's like the worst damage dealer. However, it pretty quickly doesn't really become handy in most of the bosses. It can, however, stagger enemies, which can be useful in some cases. I do love that they've added the Cactuar into the game, however, as it is a staple in the Final Fantasy series. And it's one that I actually really love with its Thousand Needles in terms of just love seeing the creature in most of the games. At number 9, we have the Chocobo Chick. Now, who doesn't love the Chocobo Chick? Just look at its style with its Final Fantasy Cloud hairstyle there. Unfortunately, this summon is one of the weakest in the game. However, it only takes one ATB bar segment to summon, and also it can use all the elements. So at the start of the game, it is very versatile. It also has the added bonus that it can stagger opponents. I do really love the Chocobo Flare ultimate move as well, and it does have the added bonus of, like I said before, staggering all the opponents, so it is a brilliant move in that way. Next up we have the Fat Chocobo at number 8, and to be honest with you, I love this summon in the original as well as in the remake. The design itself is really iconic. Now, this is the first summon in our list that is not a DLC summon, so you actually get this from Chadley's VR battles, and it's unlocked after turning in 5 battle intel challenges. However, actually, the VR battle with the Fat Chocobo does not unlock until you talk to Chadley during the Chapter 9 in Wall Market. Now, this summon requires 2 ATB bar segments to summon, and can be summoned in a lot more areas than some of the larger summons due to, obviously, space, obviously that being a factor in Final Fantasy 7 Remake. Also, the ultimate itself is really nice, the Carbuncle. It just reminds me of the old Final Fantasy 7 summon when he sits on the enemies. Now moving on to number 7, we have a staple in the series, Carbuncle. He's one of the most used summons in the Final Fantasy series, and to be honest with you, looks great in this one. Again, the Carbuncle is a DLC item, just like the Chocobo Chick and the Cactuar, and can be got just from buying the Deluxe or the First Class editions of the game. Now, this summon actually only costs 1 ATB bar segment to summon, which is great considering the use of the summon itself. It can use a barrier, it can also give the haste ability, and it can heal and revive the party. So, as you can imagine, especially in hard mode, it comes in very handy in tight spots. I really do love its move, the Diamond Dazzle, as well, as it does give the party health and revives any KO players, which is, again, very useful. Now moving on to number 6, and what's better than a Chocobo? A Chocobo and a Moogle. You can find this materia in Chapter 6 of the game. Tifa points out the materia behind a spinning fan, but you can't actually grab it straight away. First off, you need to shut off the 3 sun lamps to access the lift that can take you to the ventilation shafts in which you can get the summon. This summon is great to use against enemies that are weak against wind damage, and it also has a useful attack called the Chocobo Chick that inflicts stagger damage, which I use personally quite a lot in the game. Again, this summon only requires 1 ATB bar to actually summon, which is quite nice, and considering its uses, especially against enemies that are weak against wind, it's great. It also has the Stampede ultimate, which is, in my opinion, again, really great against enemies that are weak against wind. Now we're halfway through the list. Number 5, I give you Ifrit, the fire summon. Obviously another staple in the series. Now, this is one of the first summons that you receive in the game and is actually the easiest to obtain, to be honest with you, as you get it from Jesse at the beginning of Chapter 4, and it probably can carry you through most of the game, to be fair, without worrying about most of the other summon materia. Ifrit actually only costs 1 ATB bar to summon, and Ifrit is actually a large summon, so it can't be summoned where there isn't enough space to, so obviously it's a bit more limited in scope of use. This is also similar to the other big summons, obviously. However, I would say that it's probably one of the weakest out of the larger summons. This summon is also not that brilliant at crowd control. To be honest with you, it mainly concentrates on one foe at a time with heavy punches. However, it does do a lot of damage, and against an enemy that is weak against fire, it's just outstanding, to be honest with you. There is one caveat to that, however, and that's the Hellfire technique, which is its ultimate attack. And it looks amazing, to be honest with you, and it does all fire damage to all opponents. Ifrit is one of my favourite summons in terms of style, however, as well. And I really do love the demon look that he has in this game, and he's probably one of my favourite iterations of Ifrit. Right, moving on to number 4, we have the Ice Queen herself, Shiva. This is another summon that you get from defeating it in Chadley's VR battles. You cannot access this battle until Chapter 8, when you talk to Chadley in the Sector 5 slums, right by the materia shop. This is another 1 ATB bar segment summon, and also has the same weakness as Ifrit in terms of it can only be summoned where there is enough space to do so. This summon is really brilliant at staggering enemies. However, its Heavenly Strike can be a bit slow, so you've got to be very good at timing and make sure the enemies don't get out of range before the attack hits. One brilliant thing about this summon is the Diamond Dust technique. It's just amazing. It damages all enemies with ice damage, and the amount of damage it does, even if they don't have a weakness to ice, is just amazing. We've hit our top 3, and this summon is from the DLC Intergrade, and it is Rummer. This summon, again, you get from Chadley. All you have to do is defeat the summon and get it. However, it's only from the Intermission DLC that you'll be able to actually get this summon. Now, he actually looks great, and to be honest with you, he's the newest addition in the game. Anything that's weak against lightning will totally be destroyed by this summon, and I would recommend using him if you can, as he's just brilliant in most situations. I won't spoil his moves or anything due to the fact that he is such a new summon, but just take my word for it in this case, or have a look at the game and you'll see how good he is in combat. Now we're up to the last 2, and number 2 is Leviathan. Now, it's a great summon, to be honest with you, and can destroy most enemies. It just has devastating attacks. In terms of getting the summon, it's accessible from Chapter 14, again from a VR battle. Now, Leviathan himself actually takes 2 ATB bars to summon, and he deals a lot of non-elemental damage. He's a large summon, so obviously, again, you can't summon him everywhere. However, when you can summon him, he's just a powerhouse. His ultimate technique is the tidal wave, and this just knocks enemies flying. I would say he's a must-use in the Final Fantasy 7 remake, to be honest with you. He's just amazing. I know you get him late in the game, but when you do get him, he's just totally a powerhouse. And to be honest with you, just look at him. He just looks amazing in this game. We've finally reached our number 1, and that is the king of all the dragons, Bahamut. And to be honest with you, one of the hardest summons to actually obtain. You need to get Chadley's intel reports, all 20 of them, which actually takes a long time. And then you have to beat Bahamut in a battle, which, trust me, is no easy task in itself. Now, this summon, again, costs 2 ATB bar segments to summon and deals non-elemental damage. Now, in my opinion, it is stronger than Leviathan, which is why it's number 1 on this list. And to be honest with you, Mega Flare just looks amazing. If you see Mega Flare in action, it just looks majestic, to be honest with you. Now, in terms of aesthetics, I really love dragons, so I've always had a soft spot for Bahamut. So that's another reason why it's number 1 on this list. Now, what do you guys think? Did you guys have Bahamut at the top of your list? What's your favourite summon? Let me know in the comments down below. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel. Like I said, it really does help me out. Thank you for listening.